This short video shows how to use Consolas to configure and deploy an application into cloud. The target application is called SmartGH. It does city routing and consists of these components. Each of the components is wrapped as a Docker image and can be found in the Docker Hub. So to deploy a SmartGH, it actually means to download your own Docker images and run it on your own virtual machine. The Consolas tool can help us do this automatically. But to do this, we need to first get two inputs from the developers. The first input specifies the resources in the cloud, like this OpenStack large image. It has so much RAM and provides a Ubuntu operating system. It also specifies the software components, like this hopper for food. It requires a Ubuntu virtual machine and can be downloaded and started using the following two Docker commands. There's also specifications about how to connect the components together. The instances section of this specification is left empty because the developers cannot decide how many instances you want for each component. That's what we need to specify in the configuration. But the configuration also need to follow some constraints. For example, this one shows that for any hopper, there must be a web component as to be used as a UI for it. And for another example, this constraint says that for any two web components, if they are both alive and they have the same port, then they must be actually the same one. This constraint prevents two web components to have the same port, otherwise it will have some problem to deploy them together. As an operator, you don't really need to understand all these complex constraints because they are the inputs to the Consolas tool. What you need to do is simply to run Consolas with these two inputs and ask it to provide us automatically a configuration. So in the first run, it gives us a simple configuration like this. It's really the simplest one, with only one hopper, one web component, and one database deployed on one virtual machine. We're not happy with that because we want some more complicated functions. So we go back and first say that we need one hopper and it should be of the type food hopper. So as you can see, we input the commands in the bottom of the window. And then we give another command to say that we need a second hopper to handle fast car hopping. With these two hints to Consolas, it will give us a new configuration, as we can see here. It is a little more complicated than the previous one. If we look inside, we can see that the two hoppers we required are already here. And the tool also automatically creates us two web components as a UI and to provide a load balancer to handle these two web components. All these components are scattered into two virtual machines because they need so much resource. Now we're happy with that, so we say deploy. After about 4 to 5 minutes, the tool will automatically create the virtual machines, run the Docker images, and properly configure them. After that, we reload the admin page of our cloud to see two more virtual machines created. Let's copy the IP of VM01 because that's where the load balancer is deployed. Use this IP, we can check the deployment result. Now this is the newly deployed SmartGH hopper service. To see if the inner structure goes in the way we expected, we can use the visualization of the inner structure of the load balancer. So if we change the user preference from food to fast and reload the page, we can actually see that there are two hoppers serving us behind the load balancer.